What if the very person you're trying to walk away from is the one your mind refuses to release? You know the connection is no longer healthy. You know the chapter has closed, and yet your emotions keep circling back as if they're waiting for a different ending. We live in a world where the heart often clings to what wounds it, where memory feels stronger than truth, and where someone else's silence becomes a storm inside our own head. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology did. They taught that pain doesn't come from people themselves. It comes from the weight of our attachment, the stories we build, the meaning we place on someone who has already stepped out of our life. If your peace is slipping away, if your identity feels tangled in who they were, if you're tired of trying to let go but still feel pulled back, you're not broken, you're simply human. And this message is for you. Today, we'll uncover 8 Stoic rules that will help you detach with wisdom, regain emotional sovereignty, and return to a version of yourself that feels whole and grounded again. Your freedom begins now. Let's begin. Rule 1. Master the art of emotional distance. There is a reason detachment feels impossible at first. Your mind has built a story around this person, a version of them that lives more in your imagination than in reality. And as long as that story remains unchallenged, emotional distance will always feel out of reach. Detachment begins not with cutting someone off, but with seeing them clearly. Most people don't suffer because of the person. They suffer because of the idealized version they created. The Stoics warned about this psychological trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Remove the legend, and you see things for what they truly are." He understood that the mind exaggerates beauty, importance, and the role someone plays in our life. When you believe your happiness is tied to them, you automatically lose your power. Emotional distance begins when you break that illusion. Start by asking yourself, am I attached to the person or to the idea of who I wanted them to be? When you strip away fantasy, excuses, and potential, what remains is the truth, their actions, their consistency, their treatment of you. And the truth is often far less magnetic than the story you've been feeding your heart. Stoicism teaches the discipline of objective perception. Look at the situation like an outsider, without emotional coloring. Imagine a friend describing the exact same dynamic to you. Would you tell them this connection is healthy? Would you tell them to hold on? Or would you gently point out the imbalance, the disrespect, the lack of reciprocity? Emotional distance grows when you stop arguing with reality, when you stop rereading old messages, when you stop searching for hidden meanings in silence, when you stop chasing closure from someone who has already shown you their truth. One powerful Stoic exercise is reality reframing. Write down 3 things about this person that you've been exaggerating and 3 things you've been ignoring. This act alone disrupts the illusion and shifts your emotional gravity back to center. Because the real struggle isn't leaving someone, it's leaving the version of them that only existed in your mind. And once that version collapses, the attachment weakens naturally. You no longer hold them at the center of your identity. You no longer rely on their response to feel whole. You no longer confuse emotional intensity with emotional importance. Detachment begins in the mind, not in the distance. Rule 2. Stop negotiating with your emotions. One reason detachment feels like a battle is because your emotions keep trying to pull you back into old patterns. You feel a wave of sadness, a hint of loneliness, a spike of nostalgia, and immediately your mind begins negotiating. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I should reach out. Maybe this feeling means something. But feelings are not facts, and the Stoics were relentless about this truth. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Your emotion is not a command. It's a signal. It tells you what's happening inside you, not what you should do next. Modern humans make a critical mistake. We treat every emotional impulse as meaningful. We feel longing and assume it means love. We feel pain and assume it means we should return. We feel emptiness and assume something is missing rather than something is healing. But emotional waves are physiological responses, chemical echoes of attachment, routine, and memory, not instructions for action. The Stoic approach is simple but transformative. Pause. Label. Redirect. Pause. The moment you feel the urge to text, check their profile, or replay old memories, stop. Let the feeling rise without reacting. Most emotions peak within 90 seconds when not fueled by thought. Label. Give the feeling a name without judgment. This is anxiety. This is craving. This is loneliness. When you label an emotion, you place yourself above it. You become the observer, not the puppet. Redirect. Once the emotion is acknowledged, shift your focus towards something within your control. Movement, journaling, breathwork, meaningful action, or reconnecting with your personal goals. Redirection is not avoidance. It is reclaiming authority over your attention. Think of your emotions like waves hitting a rock. The waves may be strong, but the rock does not move. Each time you resist the impulse to act on temporary feelings, you weaken the emotional loop that keeps you attached. Ask yourself, has acting on my emotions ever given me long-term peace? Or has it only recycled my pain? You already know the answer. Your emotions will try to bargain. They will tell you to return to what is familiar. They will whisper that discomfort means something is wrong. But discomfort is simply the withdrawal of attachment, not a signal to go backward. Detachment requires emotional leadership, not emotional obedience. You are the observer, not the prisoner. Rule 3. Acceptance over expectation. Most emotional suffering during detachment comes from one source. You expect the person to be someone they are not. You expect them to return. You expect them to finally understand your value. You expect them to change, to apologize, to choose you with the same intensity you chose them. But expectation is a contract you created that the other person never signed. The Stoics warned that pain is amplified not by reality itself, but by our insistence that reality should be different. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In the context of detachment, it means accept the truth, even if it bruises your ego, even if it contradicts what you hoped for. When you refuse to accept what someone is showing you through their silence, inconsistency, or lack of effort, you trap yourself in a cycle of emotional debt. You wait for what is unlikely. You hope for what is already broken. You try to resurrect something that no longer exists except in memory. Acceptance is not giving up. It is choosing clarity over fantasy. It is choosing peace over potential. It is choosing the present moment over an imagined future. Think of how often expectation keeps you stuck. You expect a text back. You expect closure. You expect them to realize what they lost. You expect them to fight for you the way you would have fought for them. But every expectation becomes an emotional chain. You tie your worth to someone else's behavior. You tie your mood to their response. You tie your healing to their timing. Stoicism teaches a more liberating posture. Meet reality on its own terms. If they walked away, let that be the truth. If they stopped trying, let that be the truth. If they showed you where you stand in their life, accept it without negotiation. Radical acceptance exercise. Write down 3 expectations you've been holding on to. Then rewrite each one as a fact. I expect them to reach out. They haven't reached out. I expect them to understand me. They chose not to. I expect them to return. They moved forward. This shift is painful, but it is the doorway to freedom. Expectation chains you to who they were. Acceptance allows you to detach from who they no longer are. Because you cannot detach from someone while still secretly hoping they will become the person you imagined. You cannot detach from someone whose potential you're still dating. Rule 4. Control only your inner domain. One of the deepest sources of attachment is the illusion that you can somehow influence how the other person thinks, feels, or behaves. You replay conversations, rewrite outcomes in your mind, imagine what you could have said differently, or wish they would suddenly change their heart. This creates emotional exhaustion because you're trying to control something that has never belonged to you. The Stoics built their entire philosophy on one dividing line: what is within your control and what is not? Epictetus said, "Freedom is the moment you know what you can and cannot control." And nothing reveals this more clearly than trying to detach from someone. You cannot control their choices. You cannot control their clarity. You cannot control their priorities. You cannot control their absence, their silence, or their indifference. But you can control your focus, your interpretation, and your response. That is your inner domain, your mental territory. And reclaiming this territory is the turning point of detachment. Imagine you are steering a small ship through a storm. The storm represents the other person, their moods, inconsistency, or withdrawal. Most people try to calm the storm. They plead, they over-explain, they wait, they hope. But the Stoic does not waste energy on weather patterns. The Stoic focuses on the wheel, on what they can steer. When you redirect your attention inward, the emotional grip begins to loosen. You stop measuring your worth through someone else's behavior. You stop chasing answers from someone who cannot give them. You stop trying to change a story that was already written. Here is a powerful exercise. Create a 2-column list. Left side, things within my control. Right side, things outside my control. In the left column, write how I interpret this situation, how I choose to respond, what I give my time and attention to. The standards I set for my life, my healing, my growth, my peace. In the right column, write their feelings, their effort, their communication, their loyalty, their decisions. Stare at this list until it becomes undeniable. Then make a commitment. Invest only in the left column. Every time you try to understand their silence, move your energy back to the left column. Every time you feel the urge to reach out, move your energy back to the left column. Every time you start fantasizing about what could have been, move your energy back to the left column. Detachment is not about ignoring someone. It is about reclaiming yourself from what you cannot control. Detach from what isn't yours to carry. Rule 5. Limit access. Reduce the triggers. Detachment isn't just a matter of willpower. It is a matter of environment. You cannot emotionally detach from someone if your mind is constantly being triggered by reminders of them. The human brain forms emotional associations through repetition, places, songs, photos, routines. Even certain hours of the day become psychological hooks that pull you back into attachment. Stoicism teaches that the wise person does not fight unnecessary battles. They remove the source of disturbance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If something disturbs your peace, remove your opinion about it." Today, that means more than shifting your mindset. It means adjusting your surroundings. Because every trigger you allow to remain becomes an invitation for old emotions to resurface. Think about how often this happens. You open your phone and see their name. You scroll and stumble on a memory. A song plays and your chest tightens. You pass a familiar place and your mind goes back in time. These triggers are not harmless. They reopen emotional loops. They keep your nervous system wired to the past. They keep attachment alive even when logic says it's time to let go. Stoicism teaches that detachment thrives when you limit access, both the access they have to you and the access you have to memories of them. This doesn't require drama. It doesn't require announcements. It doesn't require you to be cold or spiteful. It simply requires you to protect your peace. Practical Stoic actions: unfollow or mute their social media. This is not immaturity, it is hygiene for the mind. Remove or archive old photos and conversations. Out of sight is not denial, it is healing. Break the routines you shared. New habits prevent emotional autopilot. Change your environment. Small shifts, your playlist, your workspace, your weekend patterns, signal your brain that life is moving forward. Limit their access to you. Fewer replies, slower responses, clearer boundaries. Not as punishment, simply as self-preservation. You're not trying to erase the person. You're trying to weaken the emotional pathways that keep you attached to them. Neuroscience confirms this. Emotional bonds fade when the cues that reinforce them are removed. Without triggers, your mind becomes quieter. Without constant reminders, your nervous system stabilizes. Without easy access, your heart stops reaching backward. This is not avoidance. This is strategy. Distance, physical, digital, emotional, is not cruelty. It is medicine. Because detachment doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you reduce the triggers that keep the past alive. Distance is medicine. Rule 6. Practice voluntary discomfort. One of the reasons detaching from someone feels unbearable is because the mind has been trained to avoid discomfort at all costs. You reach for closure to avoid uncertainty. You reach for them to avoid loneliness. You replay memories to avoid the pain of the present moment. But Stoicism flips this instinct entirely. Instead of running from discomfort, the Stoics trained themselves to face it, because what you face, you master, and what you avoid controls you. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the fear you feel when letting go isn't coming from the person, it's coming from your resistance to the emotional discomfort that follows. And the more you resist it, the more powerful it becomes. Detachment demands a new relationship with discomfort. Instead of seeing it as a warning, see it as a bridge that carries you out of emotional dependency and into emotional freedom. Think about it. Every time you resist checking your phone, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you allow yourself to feel loneliness without immediately seeking relief, you build emotional endurance. Every time you stop yourself from reopening an old conversation, you reclaim authority over your attention. These small acts of voluntary discomfort are not punishment, they are training. Stoics practiced this intentionally. They fasted, slept on hard surfaces, walked in the cold, and stripped life down to essentials. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood a deeper truth. If you can handle small discomfort on purpose, you won't collapse when life gives you real discomfort by surprise. Here are practical exercises for modern detachment. The 24-hour no-reaction rule. No responding to emotional impulses for a full day. Let feelings rise and fall without acting. The silent sprint. Spend 1 hour without distractions. No phone, no checking, no reaching out. Sit with the discomfort rather than escaping it. Reverse the habit loop. If you normally text when lonely, choose a walk instead. If you normally check their social media, journal instead. Replace the reflex with intention. Cold exposure or movement. Ritual. Use physical discomfort to train mental steadiness. The mind learns resilience through the body. Each time you withstand discomfort without breaking your boundaries, you weaken the emotional chains that kept you attached. You stop interpreting discomfort as danger. You start seeing it as evidence of growth. Because detachment is not about feeling nothing. It is about becoming strong enough to feel things without being ruled by them. Discomfort is the bridge to detachment. Rule 7. Rewrite your identity without them. Emotional attachment doesn't survive because of the other person. It survives because you've built an identity that includes them at the center. Your routines, your thoughts, your hopes, even your self-worth may have subtly woven them in. So when you try to detach, you're not just letting go of a person. You're letting go of the version of yourself that existed with them. This is why detachment feels like losing a piece of your identity. Stoicism teaches that identity is not something discovered, it is something practiced. Seneca wrote, "We become what we repeatedly do." In other words, who you believe yourself to be exists only through your habits, your choices, and your daily actions, not through any relationship or attachment. That means detachment becomes possible the moment you begin building a self that is no longer shaped around their presence. Start by noticing the small but powerful ways you linked your identity to them. Did you see yourself as someone who needed their validation? Did you construct your future with them as a main character? Did you define your worth by how they saw you, or didn't see you? When someone becomes part of your identity, losing them feels like losing meaning. The Stoics remind us, meaning must come from within, not from another person. The process of identity reconstruction begins with subtraction, removing the roles they once played in your life. If they were your source of excitement, build new passions. If they were your emotional anchor, strengthen your internal grounding. If they were your comfort, learn to offer comfort to yourself. Then comes creation. Craft a new version of yourself based on values, not attachment. Define who you are without referencing them. Choose habits that align with the person you want to become, not the person who needed someone else to feel complete. A powerful practice is the identity rewrite. Write a paragraph that begins with, "I am becoming someone who." Finish it with traits, habits, and aspirations that have nothing to do with them. Confidence, discipline, independence, creativity, peace. Repeat it daily. This rewires the mind to see a future where you are the main character. Because the truth is simple. Attachment clings to who you were. Detachment emerges from who you are becoming. When your identity expands, their role contracts. When you grow, the emotional bonds loosen. When you build a self that stands firmly on its own foundation, the past stops pulling you backward. Detach by becoming someone new. Rule 8. Live with Memento Mori. Remember, life moves forward. Nothing binds you to someone more tightly than the belief that losing them means losing your future. You imagine moments that will never happen. You mourn a story that never fully unfolded, and you grieve not just the person, but the life you thought you were supposed to have with them. This illusion of a lost future is one of the strongest chains of emotional attachment. Stoicism offers a profound antidote. Memento Mori. Remember that life is always moving, changing, evolving. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All things are in motion, nothing stands still." The attachment you feel right now is not permanent. The pain you feel is not destiny. It is only a moment in a much larger journey. When you anchor yourself to the past, you resist the natural flow of life. When you cling to a person who has already moved forward, you freeze yourself in a chapter that is no longer being written. And the more you resist change, the more suffering grows. Memento Mori is not a morbid reminder of death. It is a reminder of perspective. It awakens you to the brevity of life, the preciousness of time, and the foolishness of wasting your days replaying what cannot be undone. Ask yourself, if life is this short, do you want to spend it waiting for someone who has already chosen distance? If your time is limited, do you want to tie your peace to a story that ended? If you had only a year left, would this attachment still deserve your energy? When you remember that life is finite, detachment becomes clarity. What felt unbearable becomes manageable. What felt essential becomes optional. What felt like the one becomes simply a chapter. Negative visualization, a Stoic practice, helps accelerate this shift. Visualize your life 1 year from now, stronger, more grounded, more fulfilled, living in alignment with your values. Imagine the person you will become, the opportunities you will grow into, the peace you will reclaim. In that vision, this attachment becomes only a stepping stone, not a cage. The truth is, you are not losing a soulmate. You are losing the illusion that your happiness depends on one person, and that illusion needed to die so you could be reborn into someone wiser, freer, and more internally anchored. Life is already moving forward. Your healing is waiting for you. A new identity, a new chapter, a new strength, all waiting on the other side of letting go. You're not losing a person, you're regaining yourself. Detachment is not about erasing someone from your memory. It's about reclaiming the space in your mind, your heart, and your life that was never meant to be ruled by another person. As you've seen in these 8 Stoic rules, emotional freedom isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build intentionally, day by day, choice by choice, thought by thought. First, you learn to create emotional distance by seeing the person clearly, without illusion. Then you stopped negotiating with temporary emotions that once controlled your decisions. You replaced expectations with acceptance. You reclaimed your inner domain, the only territory that truly belongs to you. You reduced the triggers that kept the past alive. You strengthened your resilience through voluntary discomfort. You rewrote your identity into someone who no longer depends on their presence. And finally, you remembered life's deeper truth. Everything changes, everything moves, and your future is far bigger than this chapter. If you're still hurting, that's okay. Healing is not a straight line. It is a gradual return to yourself. But each time you apply one of these rules, even imperfectly, you weaken the emotional bond that once felt unbreakable. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, more grounded. You stop chasing what has already released you, and you start building a life that reflects your worth, not your wounds. So take a breath. You're already further along than you were yesterday. Choose one rule from this video and practice it for the next 24 hours. Then another tomorrow. Detachment isn't an event, it's a skill. And every skill gets stronger with repetition. Thank you for staying until the end. If this message helped you, share it with someone who needs it. Like, comment which rule you'll apply first, and subscribe for more Stoic guidance. Your next chapter begins now. Choose peace, choose clarity, choose yourself.